Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Psychology, Human Behaviour, and Mental Health. I'm Adam Bates, and something slightly different today. I'm actually just going to start with answering a couple of listener questions that I've had. And, guys, as I do this, just to warn you, I am putting these out as video now. So warn, or maybe it's some good news, I don't know, but feel free to go have a look, providing it all runs smoothly and I end up with a podcast recorded as audio perfectly, and I end up with a video recorded perfectly as well. Yes, I'm living in the fantasy world, but hey, you never know, we might just put it off. Let's give it a go. First question that I've had is how to get over the girl, and it's basically somebody who's messaged me on Instagram, 20-year-old guy, and he basically said, um, I met this girl on holiday, we fell in love, but we've recently decided to stop talking because we live like 2,000 kilometers apart and we're only going to see each other once or twice a year. So we didn't feel that it was in a place, or they both like kind of agreed that, it's probably causing more pain, I guess, than good when you're only seeing each other a few times a year. So I've got a little bit of experience in this one, And if you go back and think about a lot of the stuff that me and Jamie talked about, particularly on this show, Stoicism for Modern Life. I say this is obviously is on a different podcast, but on the Stoicism for Modern Life show, Jamie and I talked about that the training that life gives you for certain things as you go through it. The analogy I tend to use is like if you want to win an Olympic gold, you aren't just suddenly thrust into the Olympic final. First you have to win at your school, and then into schools, and then like county, and then you start competing at national, then you do the junior Olympics and stuff, and eventually you're there in that moment of destiny. You see, to get there, you need the challenges and the training along the way. And I vaguely remember what it was like being 20. The first thing I'll probably say is when you met somebody once on holiday, and I know this is probably going to sound harsh, but you may well realise later on you weren't actually in love. What was going on is lust. And the two of you found a sort of moment in time where your values interlinked, and any particular voids that you may have had kind of filled by each other. But obviously what tended to happen is that you then come back from holiday, and a bit like any time you come back from holiday, actually, that kind of reality kind of shocks you a little bit often. And the fact that you're then not seeing each other adds an extra void. So the thing that I'm going to do with this one is, because the person who's asked, and I won't mention the names and stuff, keep that anonymous, but he did also mention, because I went and asked a few questions to follow up. He's 20 years old, and he's also just about to start medical school, and says he wants to go through life and make a difference and help people and find his happiness in the process. So the first thing that I'll say is, if you're looking to find your happiness through helping others, then you need to really analyze that route, because if that is the case, then you won't need the girl for happiness. And that's not to say that you should never want a partner or anything like that. Again, that's not what I mean at all. But happiness comes from fulfillment in all aspects of your life. So firstly, you need to find any voids that you may have in life and fill them yourself. And it doesn't matter whether you met the girl for a week, 2 weeks, or whether you spent 2 years together. Ultimately, the best way to get over something like that is to actually find fulfillment and find the thing in life that really inspires you and drives you forward. I'm going to give an example that I used with a client last year or the year before, a couple of years ago, I think this one actually. But it's pretty good, powerful example to use in this moment. So I was working with someone who's actually like a good friend as well. Again, I'll keep it anonymous and stuff, and if they're watching, I'm sure they won't mind me using this example. But basically, I sat down on a Zoom with this client, and it's basically because of the same sort of situation. I mean, he and the girl had actually been together, um, and there was some more sort of like complex details regarding their relationship and stuff, which kind of irrelevant for this. But the reason we were chatting is because in the weeks that passed since they broke up, he couldn't stop thinking about it. Okay, and wanting me to help with that. So how do you help? Stop thinking about the girl. And he probably wondered for a while exactly where I was going with it. Because my initial thing was to start talking about work. What do you do for a living? Do you enjoy your job? I said yes, and everything else. I said, so when do you find, that you're mainly thinking about it? If you enjoy your job, are you thinking about it at work? He said, well, no, not really. It's mainly like when I come home in the evenings, and I'm there then suddenly on my own in the evenings and not thinking about it. So I said, so you don't think about your work in the evenings? It doesn't like kind of consume your thoughts or anything? He's like, no, not at all. And I said, okay, well, although you may enjoy your job, if you could do anything in the world, do you think it'd be the thing that you're doing now? Of course, they're probably not. I said, well, what would you want to be doing? I said, I don't know. Now, obviously, I was working with this guy on his physique and stuff at the time, so we're friends on Facebook. And that meant that I could, I'd obviously seen some of his posts and stuff. And I said, hey, that I see that you really into like sort of dance music and stuff. Sorry guys if I get some terminology wrong, like club stuff and like Behaviour and going on holidays where there's like club environments and all of this kind of stuff. I said, and he's like, yeah, I love all of that. And I said, well, what about doing something like putting on like club events? That start off maybe small, but then could eventually lead to putting on these big nights in Ibiza and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I wouldn't know where to start. And I said, you know what, it doesn't actually matter where you start. Because if it's something that you'd really love to do, and I said, it may not be that exact thing. I could tell that they're two of your highest values, like the travelling, being on holiday in the sun, and going and attending those kind of parties and stuff. And it's like, yeah, they are. I love that. I love it. I said, okay. So using this as an example, if it is like putting on the club nights and stuff, the way that you start is you go and have a look at the lives of people who've done that and been successful in it. So I think on a recent podcast as well, I talked about modelling. Now, I don't necessarily model my life on others, but I certainly get inspiration from reading biographies and stuff like that. So especially in this day and age where we've got the internet, it's very, very easy to go out there and just have a look how people got into things, how they got successful and what have you. And that's kind of the start, because if you're really, really into that stuff, what will happen is you'll go away and you'll look at that and you'll actually just enjoy that process of doing it. And I said, the thing is, this may not be it. I want you to go away now. We're going to have another chat next week. And if that is it, so you go away and think about it, and if that is it, then I want to hear that you've spent the week doing that. So suddenly you'll come out with some ideas of where to get started. So, okay, we finish the Zoom, and then we jump on another one the following week. And at this point, I'm on the second Zoom, so a week later, he says to me, I know what it is. And sorry, I'm just going to change my slides. I believe I can, or not. Oh, yeah, there we go. Not that one. There we go. I forgot I had them. Anyway, so he came back on the Zoom and said, I've got it. I know what it is. I know what I would do. But I'm too old, it doesn't matter, I couldn't do this kind of stuff. And I've obviously said the previous week as well, look, it doesn't matter where you start, it doesn't matter whether you think it leads to a career or whatever else. You already enjoy your job, okay? But unfortunately, we do get coerced by society a lot of the time out of our childhood dreams. And you talk about the medical school thing as well. Is that your dream, or is that a dream of your parents? And I say that because you absolutely could do a hell of a lot and change the world by going down that route. But you have to be thinking about it all the time. You have to love it. Because if it's not that thing, then there's going to be somebody bloody better at it. Or whatever area of the medical world you want to go into. And perhaps that is as well. Perhaps it is a case of just going in there and then you find your niche. But if you're not like sat at home now, obsessed by that stuff, already studying it before you're even there, then you'll probably find it may not be the route for you. You know? Like, doing this right now, I could be doing anything, you know? But this is the stuff that I wake up excited about and thinking about. This is the stuff that keeps me up all night. This is the stuff that I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about concepts in psychology and philosophy and what have you. Okay? I used to have exactly the same with fitness for like 15 years. That's why I got so good at it, because I was obsessed. You know, I'd actually barely have social life simply because I was so obsessed with that. I found my thing and it was all that mattered to me. So anyway, on that second Zoom, said, I want to be a DJ. And I said, go be a DJ, okay? It said, but I want to know where to start. You start by going out and getting yourself some cheap decks or whatever it is, okay? Now, what the hell does this have to do with the bloody girl? Well, he did that. He actually went out, got the decks. We had a Zoom again 2 weeks later. He jumped on that Zoom and said, I've just realised something. I said, what? I haven't thought about the girl for 2 weeks. I said, I know, because you've been DJing. So basically he was going home from his normal job and could not wait to get home and start playing with his decks. And I do believe he's actually like getting paid for DJing and stuff now as well. You know, so it can actually lead to a career. But that is the key to getting over anything like that. When you have put like your a value in your life has been filled not by you and not by something that you have drawn into your life, but by a person, then you need to find a way to fill that void yourself. And when you have something in your life that is that fulfills you, that is, if you like, your life mission, you know, my life mission is not to just change the lives of the people I work with. It's not just to change the lives of people who are listening to this podcast. It's to leave a lasting legacy on this planet, you know, and that has like helped humanity progress. Now, I do that to a fault, whereby I don't like to let anything else in my life a lot of the time, because like I'm so obsessed with that. And I know that to be able to do that, I can always learn more. I can always do better. There's always more I can be doing. And I can't stop thinking about it. But I'm not able to stop thinking about something that brings me fulfillment and happiness. And, you know, I can say this because like my life, like the girls that I couldn't before or thought I couldn't get over, and incidentally, what will probably happen is you will meet another and then you'll think, actually, I didn't love this one. And then something will go wrong with that one and you'll think, actually, I didn't even love that one. That's just kind of how life works. But here's the thing. If you want to go to medical school, if you want to change like lives and help humanity, like you said during your message, then how do you expect to be able to help others if you're unable to find your way through not being able to not stop thinking about a girl that you met on holiday? This is your challenge. This is your training. You're not going to go to medical school and be doing brain surgery on day one. You will receive training and training and training. You build up that training. And that training, as you go through it, certain areas you will find more fulfilling than others. There'll be areas that you absolutely love and can't wait to do again. And life is going to direct you towards the area that you are meant to be doing, as long as you listen to the signals. And that area, no doubt, will come from some pains as well. You know? Not being able to stop thinking about the girl that you met on holiday. What about when you lose someone really close in your family? What about if you go through a serious illness? The fact is, when you do go through those things, those voids create values in our life. the reason I'm answering your question right now, sat here doing it, is because of the girls that I had stuck in my head. You know, the girls that I was hurt over. The traumas that I've been through in my life created the values that I have. The things that made me unhappy and caused me pain, psychological manipulation on two parts, created a massive value in psychology. Fitness started because I had a void of physical appearance at school. Very, very skinny. I was the most spotty person in the class. And it's because of those things that I became obsessed with fitness and found absolute fulfillment through my, firstly, like learning about diet and training, and then passing that on to others. And because of the pains that I've experienced in life, that value of seeing how I can give happiness to others is what brings me fulfillment. But fuck me, there is no way I could do what I'm doing today if I had not been through those pains. Because it's those pains that have given me, firstly, my meaning, what became important to me. And I open my heart to that and listen to it rather than just sticking to a certain path thinking, hey, no, this is what I do now. That's an issue that a lot of us have. We think, well, no, this is what I do. And we wonder why we don't enjoy something anymore that used to bring us fulfillment 5 years before. It's because we change. And if you go through a painful experience, then that painful experience has happened for a reason. There's a reason you needed that type of training to direct you on a certain course, to create a certain value. And you have to listen to what's going on inside and adapt. In a recent show, I talked about a cat being caught in water. You know, you may have used to have been a fish, but went through a traumatic experience, and now you're better suited to a different environment. So the way to stop thinking about it is to find something that means even more to you, and then to channel any of those painful experiences that you've had, to channel the values that they create to cause good. And that is how you will achieve the ultimate thing that you've told me that you want to do in helping others improve their lives. All right, guys, the next question. How can I come to terms with the loss of a baby mid-pregnancy? To be honest, this one's very, very, very difficult, obviously. Okay? There's no like magic cure for something like this. But we can find ways to cope and deal with it better. And the first thing that I think is important to understand as well is that there are two people who go through it. There's both parents, right? It's very, very easy for those two parents to then start having some resentment towards each other, even when they try and support each other. Because here's the thing, you're two different animals, right? Every single person's an individual. We all have our own unique values. Now, when you're both going through this pain, one of the natural things to happen will be that the male, particularly usually, will think, I need to be strong, I need to be there for her. And he bottles up his pain, and it's often going to fester inside, okay? The female will often like let theirs out, okay? The male is then trying to help with it, and then all of a sudden he starts thinking, what about my pain? He starts thinking about his pain, then all of a sudden he does, like, I don't know, there's some small act of gesture or something that he doesn't realise is doing anything wrong, and then the female may think, God, does he not care how I'm feeling right now? So guys, firstly, be careful of like clashes in your values. We're all going to respond differently, okay? So just be aware that your partner may well lash out at times. Your partner may say things that they wouldn't have done in any other circumstances, but they feel that their values being attacked, so to speak, you know, and will think, God, does he not care? Or he may think, God, does she not care? Of course you both care. You wouldn't be having a baby together in the first place, okay? So it's important for you to learn to understand each other. And when you realise that we're not going to always act rationally in those situations, that some things are going to come to you, either partner, that are going to feel like attacks from the other. They're not attacks. Just bear that in mind. It just means that they are suffering with you, but they're expressing it in a different way. I'm going to tell you another story on this one. And again, you know, this is not a nice thing to go through, okay? A lot of people go through it. And it's not easy to deal with. There is no magic trick. But you know what I can say for certain is that you cannot have a one-sided magnet. There are no negative experiences without positives, okay? Touched on that in the answers to the last question. My deepest pains have brought me the things in life that I cherish the most. You know, doing this right now comes from the pains that I have felt. Wouldn't be able to do it otherwise, okay? That's the positive to those negatives. I was working with a client through lockdown, and interestingly, actually, one of my coaches and good friend, he was actually coaching the female, like I was coaching the guy, like the two, obviously couple, okay? So we are obviously both aware of what happened. They've been trying for a while as well, and they'd actually had a miscarriage before. They did have one beautiful baby already at the time, but I think the girl actually took a lot of the blame on herself, and you know, I think that's kind of easy for any of us to do in that situation because it's a really painful thing. And that's why I say, like, to be there and to kind of understand that any resentment that your partner may show to you is not a knock on you. It's just we don't act rationally in those situations. But here's the thing, the miscarriage that they had was at a time when the world was, well, it's upside down now, but you know, we were going through lockdown. There were huge health concerns, financial concerns, because people weren't able to work, okay? And at the time, if they'd have had, you know, I obviously to speak in hindsight, but if they'd have had that baby at the time, it may have come into the world where it's at risk because it's a newborn baby, okay? And, you know, they're not, when you're a newborn baby, like, you are much more prone to catching illnesses and stuff. And this was like, you know, the peak of COVID and what have you, okay? Then think a newborn baby wouldn't be able to see the rest of its family for a long time. You know, everything, because they're obviously isolation and everything else, they would have to deal with all this newborn baby. All of a sudden, they're dealing with lockdown, they're dealing with like financial stresses because not being able to work properly, they're dealing with not being able to see their parents, the baby's grandparents or what have you. They're dealing with the fact that the baby they already have or the child they already have is not able to go to school and nursery and what have you. That's a lot to already have on your plate. Makes it pretty hard. Obviously you're going to celebrate in the moment, but it makes it pretty hard to really enjoy the first few months, let alone the first year of that newborn baby's life, you know? And following that, what they both did is just were there for each other, carried on focusing on their health. And I do know that within the sort of 12 months or so that followed, guy's business started doing bloody amazing, despite lockdown, okay? So the financial situation improved massively. I do also know that his partner grew massively in emotional strength from it. Don't get me wrong, that trauma was horrible. But she grew massively in emotional strength. Now here's the other thing that happens. Remember what I said about voids creating values? That pain, right? I'm not saying they weren't good parents or anything before, of course they're amazing. But think how much that probably made them start valuing the child that they already had and the life that they already had. Because there are some people who can't even have kids, right? And I say that not, to me, it's a good thing. You know, it's like humanity is my children. That's, life gave that to me for a reason. I can understand that. That's fine. But it certainly made them look and appreciate what they have. They continue looking after their health. Lockdown eases. Business starts flying. Guess what happens 12 months later? Not only did they get pregnant again, but this time they did have a beautiful newborn baby. And they had that baby at a time where they're able to go out again, where that baby is able to see his family. I had that baby at a time where like their appreciation for what they had could not be higher. And because of the pain that they'd experienced previously, how much do you think that baby is loved? Like even more so than the other one would have been, even if that's possible, but even more so. And that baby, like, is having the most amazing life as the two, like, I know the two bloody beautiful parents who will do anything for it. That's kind of a real, real blessing, because the happiness that they felt in finally having, you know, that newborn baby, new addition to their family, after getting close, only to be, you know, hurt and feel distraught a few times. To have it finally happen, that feeling, that gratitude. But then to see that it happened at a time when like a newborn baby is under much less risk, being inside a hospital is under much less risk. The rest of the family could see the baby. The other child that they had is growing up a little. You could probably appreciate it a little more as well, rather than just fighting for attention from mummy and daddy. You know, and I know, because I've obviously asked after. Go ask them now if they regret how anything works out. What do you think the answer is? Of course it's no. So guys, with something like that, there's no way to just get over it. But deep inside, everything does happen for a reason. And in understanding that and seeing that and knowing that this has happened, as hard as this is, and hard as this is to understand that this has happened because there's something beautiful ahead. There's something ahead that is going to be even better than what we're expecting to happen just now. Something that's going to be even better. And then all of this pain that we're feeling now is going to be replaced by happiness and gratitude and love. If you realise that, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to get over anything that you're dealing with. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next time.